The abduction. The Zarthak ship hung in low orbit over Earth, its cloaking technology rendering it invisible to human detection systems. Inside the vessel's dimly lit command center, Captain Vexlor surveyed holographic readouts of the planet below, his 4 eyes blinking in rapid succession. "Status report," he growled, addressing the crew of insectoid aliens bustling around various consoles. "All systems nominal, Captain," responded his second-in-command, Krita. "We've identified an optimal extraction point in a region the humans call Montana. Minimal population density, expansive wilderness. Our scouts report a single dwelling isolated from others by several kilometers." Vexler's mandibles clicked in approval. "Excellent. Prepare the extraction team. Remember, we need a young specimen. Their adaptability makes them ideal for the fighting pits. The Galactic Consortium pays handsomely for human children." As the crew scurried to carry out his orders, Vexler allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The Zarthak had been raiding Earth for nearly a decade, abducting humans to sell into slavery across the galaxy. So far, the primitives remained blissfully unaware of the wider cosmic community and the dangers lurking in the void. On the planet's surface, 12-year-old Sarah Mackenzie sat on the porch of her family's remote cabin, gazing up at the star-filled Montana sky. Her parents were inside, engrossed in a heated game of chess. Sarah loved these quiet summer nights, free from the noise and bustle of city life. A cool breeze rustled through the pines, carrying with it the scent of wildflowers and distant rain. Sarah closed her eyes, breathing deeply. When she opened them again, something in the sky caught her attention, a faint shimmer, like heat haze, moving against the backdrop of stars. Sarah leaned forward, squinting. The distortion grew larger, taking on a vaguely disc-like shape. Her heart began to race as she realized what she was seeing. "Mom, Dad," she called out, her voice tinged with excitement and fear. "I think there's a UFO." Inside the cabin, Sarah's parents exchanged bemused glances. "Honey, you've been watching too many sci-fi movies," her father chuckled, rising from his chair. "But let's take a look, shall we?" As they stepped onto the porch, Sarah pointed urgently at the sky. Her parents' expressions shifted from amusement to shock as they too saw the shimmering anomaly, now clearly revealing itself as an enormous spacecraft. "Oh my God," Sarah's mother whispered, instinctively pulling her daughter close. Before any of them could react further, a brilliant beam of light engulfed Sarah. She felt a strange tingling sensation, and then, to her horror, her feet left the ground. Sarah screamed as she was lifted into the air, her parents' frantic shouts fading as she was drawn inexorably towards the alien ship. In a matter of seconds, Sarah found herself in a cold, sterile chamber, surrounded by strange, chittering creatures that looked like a nightmarish fusion of insects and reptiles. Terror gripped her as one of the aliens approached, wielding a device that emitted a soft blue glow. "Specimen secured," Krita reported, waving the scanner over Sarah's trembling form. "Female, approximately 12 Earth years old. Vital signs stable, though elevated due to stress response." "Excellent," Vexlor replied, studying the human child with clinical detachment. "Prepare her for stasis. We'll rendezvous with the slave transport at the Omega Nebula in 3 solar cycles." As 2 Zarthak drones moved to restrain her, Sarah's fear gave way to a surge of desperate anger. With a strength that surprised even her, she lashed out, her small fist connecting solidly with the nearest alien's exoskeleton. The Zarthak stumbled back, more shocked than hurt. Vexler's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Feisty little creature, isn't she? The arena masters will appreciate that spirit." Sarah fought with every ounce of her being, but she was no match for the alien's superior strength and technology. As they forced her into a translucent pod filled with a strange, viscous liquid, she locked eyes with Vexler. "I'll make you pay for this," she snarled, her voice muffled by the closing pod. "All of you." Vexler simply laughed, a harsh, grating sound. Rest well, little human. You'll need your strength for what's to come. As the stasis fluid filled her lungs, Sarah's world faded to darkness. Her last conscious thought was a silent vow. She would find a way to escape, to warn Earth of the danger lurking above. And somehow, someway, she would make these monsters regret ever setting foot on her planet. Little did the Zarthap know, they had just made a terrible mistake. For Sarah Mackenzie was no ordinary human child. Beneath her unassuming exterior lay a secret that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. Unbeknownst to her alien captors, or even Sarah herself, she was the product of a top-secret government program codenamed Project Sentinel. From the moment of her conception, Sarah's DNA had been subtly altered, enhanced with traits designed to create the perfect covert operative. These genetic modifications lay dormant within her, waiting for the right catalyst to activate them. And now, as her body floated in the alien stasis pod, that catalyst had arrived. The Zarthak's advanced technology, meant to keep her docile and preserved, was instead triggering a profound transformation deep within Sarah's cells. As the Zarthak ship accelerated away from Earth, leaving behind Sarah's grieving parents and the life she had known, a new chapter was beginning. The aliens believed they had captured a helpless human child. In reality, they had unknowingly brought aboard a ticking time bomb, one that would soon explode with devastating consequences for their entire civilization. Vexilor stood on the bridge, watching Earth shrink to a pale blue dot in the viewscreen. "Set course for the Omega Nebula," he ordered, his tone smug. "Another successful raid. The consortium will be pleased." If only he knew the true nature of their cargo and the chaos that was about to be unleashed upon the galaxy. For in that stasis pod, Sarah Mackenzie slumbered and evolved. When she awoke, she would be something more than human, a force of nature the likes of which the cosmos had never seen. The hunt was about to begin, and the hunters were about to become the hunted. As the Zarthak ship vanished into the depths of space, Earth continued its serene rotation, oblivious to the abduction that had just taken place. In a remote corner of Montana, two parents wept for their lost child, unaware that their daughter's fate was now inextricably linked with the future of humanity among the stars. Meanwhile, in shadowy government facilities across the globe, alarms began to sound. Sensors designed to detect the activation of Project Sentinel's dormant genes had suddenly flared to life. In underground bunkers and secret boardrooms, men and women in positions of power exchanged worried glances. "It's happened," one grim-faced general announced to a room full of anxious officials. "Subject S-117 has been activated. God help us all." As Sarah's transformation continued in the cold vacuum of space, forces beyond her understanding were already being set in motion. The stage was set for a conflict that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy, and at the center of it all was one extraordinary girl from Montana. The Zarthak had no idea what they had just unleashed, but they, and the rest of the cosmos, were about to find out. Hidden talents. The Zarthak vessel, Nightshard, cruised through the inky void of deep space, its powerful engines humming with barely contained energy. In the ship's bowels, row upon row of stasis pods lined the walls, each containing a captive destined for the brutal fighting pits of distant worlds. But one pod pulsed with an otherworldly light, unnoticed by the alien crew. Inside that pod, Sarah Mackenzie's body was undergoing a metamorphosis beyond anything her creators could have imagined. The Zarthak's advanced stasis technology had inadvertently supercharged her dormant genetic enhancements, pushing them to evolve at an unprecedented rate. As Sarah floated in the nutrient-rich suspension, her mind drifted in a sea of fractured memories and strange new awareness. Flashes of her life on Earth mingled with sudden bursts of knowledge, combat techniques, alien languages, the intricacies of faster-than-light travel. It was as if the collective knowledge of humanity was being downloaded directly into her brain. Deep within her cells, nanobots that had lain dormant since her birth sprang to life. They raced through her bloodstream, rewriting her DNA on the fly, optimizing her body for survival in the harshest environments. Her muscles densified, bones reinforced with carbon nanotubes. Her neural pathways reconfigured, granting her processing power that would put supercomputers to shame. In the ship's command center, First Officer Kreeta's antennae twitched with unease. Something felt off. He ran another diagnostic on the stasis pods, frowning at the readouts. "Captain," he chittered, mandibles clicking nervously. "I'm detecting anomalous energy readings from holding Bay 3. Captain Vexilor swiveled his eye stalks towards his subordinate. "Explain." "It's the new human specimens, sir. Her vital signs are unprecedented. The stasis field is having difficulty maintaining homeostasis." Vexilor's exoskeleton bristled with irritation. "Increase power to the containment systems. We can't afford to lose this cargo. The arena masters on Zexfrol Prime are paying top credit for fresh human stock." As the Zarthax scrambled to contain the growing anomaly, they remained oblivious to the true nature of the change occurring within their prize captive. Sara's consciousness expanded, reaching out beyond the confines of her physical form. She became aware of the ship around her, sensing its systems, its crew, the vast emptiness of space beyond the hull. And then she sensed something else. A presence, vast and ancient, brushing against the edges of her newly awakened mind. "Who are you?" Sara's thoughts called out into the cosmic void. The response came not in words, but in a flood of images and emotions. Sara saw the rise and fall of civilizations across countless worlds. She witnessed the birth of stars and the death of galaxies. And through it all, she sensed a guiding intelligence, the collective consciousness of a species so advanced they had transcended physical form eons ago. "We are the progenitors," the entity communicated. "We seeded the galaxy with life, hoping to nurture beings who would one day join us in shepherding the cosmos. But many of our children have lost their way, succumbing to greed and cruelty." Sara's mind reeled at the implications. "Why are you contacting me?" "Because you, child of Earth, represent a turning point. The modifications made to your genetic code have unlocked potential we had not foreseen. You are a bridge between what humanity is and what it may become." As this cosmic download of information and power continued, Sara's physical body began to change more rapidly. Her skin took on a subtle metallic sheen. Her eyes, when they flickered open, glowed with an inner light that reflected the vast knowledge now contained within her mind. On the bridge of the Night Shard, alarms blared as systems began to malfunction. Lights flickered, gravity platings surged erratically. Vexilor bellowed orders, trying to maintain control of his increasingly panicked crew. "What in the name of the void is happening?" he roared. Kreeta's manipulators flew over his console, trying desperately to make sense of the cascading failures. "Captain, it's the human. Somehow, she's interfacing with our systems." Vexilor's compound eyes widened in disbelief. "Impossible. They're a primitive species, barely capable of leaving their own atmosphere." But the evidence was undeniable. Throughout the ship, bulkheads sealed and unsealed seemingly at random. Weapon systems powered up and down, and at the center of it all, Sara's stasis pod began to crack. As the Zarthak watched in horror, the reinforced transparasteel of the pod shattered. The stasis fluid evaporated instantly, and from the mist emerged a figure that was at once familiar and utterly alien. Sara Mackenzie stood before her captors, but she was transformed. Her body rippled with barely contained energy, arcs of electricity dancing across her skin. When she spoke, her voice resonated with harmonics that made the Zarthak's exoskeletons vibrate painfully. "I warned you," she said, her eyes blazing with inner fire. "I told you you'd regret this." Vexilor, to his credit, refused to show fear in the face of this impossibility. He drew his sidearm, leveling it at the glowing human child. "Stand down, specimen. You are still our property, and you will obey." Sara tilted her head, regarding the alien captain with a mixture of pity and contempt. With a mere thought, she reached out and touched the ship's systems. The weapon in Vexilor's hand grew hot, then melted, the superheated metal dripping to the deck plates. I am no one's property, Sarah declared. And you are going to help me free every captive on this ship. Then you're going to tell me everything you know about this galactic consortium and their slave trade. As the transformed human childs strode confidently onto the bridge, the Zarthak found themselves facing a power they could neither understand nor hope to contain. Sarah Mackenzie, once a simple girl from Montana, had become something new, a harbinger of change for the entire galaxy. And deep in the cosmic background, the progenitors watched with growing interest. The experiment they had begun eons ago was entering a new phase. Humanity, it seemed, might yet surprise them. Little did anyone know, this was only the beginning of Sarah's journey. As her newfound powers continued to evolve, she would face challenges that would test not only her abilities, but her very humanity. The fate of Earth, and indeed the entire galaxy, now rested on the shoulders of a child who was rapidly becoming something more than human. The Nightshard hung motionless in space, its crew paralyzed by a mixture of fear and awe. Sarah stood at the center of the bridge, her mind racing with possibilities. She could feel the other captives throughout the ship, their life forces pulsing like beacons in her expanded consciousness. With a thought, she unlocked every holding cell and stasis pod. Confused and frightened aliens of various species stumbled into the corridors, unsure of what was happening, but sensing that liberation was at hand. "Krita," Sarah said, turning to the first officer who cowered behind his console. "You're going to help me get these people to safety. Are there any habitable planets nearby?" The insectoid alien's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. "Ah, yes," he stammered. "There's a neutral trading outpost in a neighboring system. But the consortium has spies everywhere. They'll find us." Sarah's eyes flashed, and for a moment, the entire ship seemed to pulse with her determination. Let them try. As the Nightshard changed course, its holds now filled with bewildered but hopeful former captives instead of slaves, Sarah turned her attention to Captain Vexler. The Zarthak leader glared at her with a mixture of hatred and grudging respect. "You have no idea what you're doing, human," he hissed. "The consortium's reach extends across half the galaxy. They'll hunt you to the ends of the universe for this." Sarah stepped closer, her very presence making the air crackle with energy. "Good," she said, a fierce smile playing across her lips. "Because I'm going to dismantle their entire operation, piece by piece. And you, Captain, are going to help me do it." As the Nightshard accelerated towards its new destination, Sarah felt a tremor of anticipation. This was just the first step in a journey that would reshape the cosmos. And somewhere out there, Earth was waiting, unaware of the dangers that lurked among the stars, but also ignorant of the protector they now had. Sarah Mackenzie, the girl who was becoming a legend, looked out at the star-studded void and made a silent vow. She would return home one day, but not before ensuring that humanity would never again fall prey to those who saw them as mere commodities. The hunt was on, and the galaxy would never be the same. Cosmic chess. The trading outpost of Nexus 9 hung in space like a glittering jewel, its sprawling structure a maze of docking bays, marketplaces, and shadowy back alleys. As the Nightshard approached, Sarah stood on the bridge, her mind interfacing directly with the ship's systems. She had cloaked the vessel using a combination of Zarthak technology and her own rapidly evolving abilities. "Remember," she addressed the diverse group of former captives gathered around her, "stick to the plan. We're not just here to find you sanctuary. We're going to strike the first blow against the consortium." Among the freed slaves, an azure-skinned Andromedian raised a tentacle. "But how can we hope to challenge such a vast organization? We are but a handful against a galactic power." Sarah's eyes glowed with an inner fire as she responded, "Sometimes, the smallest stone can start an avalanche. Trust me." As the Nightshard docked at an inconspicuous bay, Sarah turned to Captain Vexler, who stood bound and sullen. "You're up, Captain. Time to make that call." Vexler chittered in frustration but complied. Using a secure comm channel, he contacted his superiors in the consortium. This is Captain Vexlo of the Nightshard. We've encountered some difficulties, requesting immediate assistance and new directives. On the other end, a gravelly voice responded, "Elaborate, Captain." Sarah nodded, and Vexlo continued, his mandibles clicking nervously. "Our latest acquisition, a human child, has demonstrated unexpected abilities. We believe she may be of special interest to the consortium." There was a long pause before the voice replied, "Understood. Maintain position. A representative will rendezvous with you shortly." As the communication ended, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The bait was set. Over the next few hours, the Ragtag group put their plan into motion. The freed aliens dispersed throughout Nexus 9, spreading whispers of rebellion and hope. Sarah, using her newfound shape-shifting abilities, took on the appearance of a nondescript maintenance worker, allowing her to move freely through the station's restricted areas. Meanwhile, deep within the Nightshard, Krita worked feverishly under Sarah's direction, modifying the ship's systems in ways that defied conventional physics. The vessel was becoming something new, a hybrid of technology and Sarah's evolving powers. As the station's artificial day cycle waned, a sleek black ship arrived at Nexus 9. Its design was unlike anything in known space, all smooth curves and light-absorbing surfaces. It docked with an eerie silence, and from its airlock emerged a figure that sent shivers down the spines of all who saw it. The consortium representative was tall and gaunt, its body a fusion of organic matter and advanced cybernetics. Its face was a blank mask, devoid of features save for a single pulsing red eye. "I am a Nissari," it stated in a voice that seemed to bypass ears and resonate directly in the mind. "Bring me the human child." Vexlo, playing his part to perfection, led the emissary to a secure holding cell aboard the Nightshard. Inside, a holographic projection of Sarah sat, apparently docile and unaware. The emissary's eye pulsed rapidly as it scanned the projection. "Fascinating," it murmured. "The genetic modifications are far beyond anything we've encountered. How did a primitive species like humanity achieve this?" Before Vexilo could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship and station. The hologram flickered and vanished, replaced by Sarah in her true, power-infused form. "They didn't," she declared, her voice resonating with otherworldly harmonics. "But I'm something new, something your consortium never saw coming." The emissary's emotionless facade cracked, showing a flicker of genuine surprise and fear. It raised a hand, energy crackling around its fingertips, but Sarah was faster. With a mere thought, she tapped into the Nightshard's modified systems. The entire ship came alive, corridors shifting and reforming, cutting off the emissary's escape routes. Tendrils of living metal erupted from the walls, restraining the consortium agent. "Now," Sarah said, her eyes blazing with determination, "you're going to tell me everything about the consortium. Their bases, their leaders, their weaknesses. And then we're going to tear it all down." As Sarah began her interrogation, the seeds of rebellion she had planted throughout Nexus 9 began to bear fruit. Across the station, slaves and oppressed aliens rose up against their consortium overlords. The carefully maintained order of the outpost dissolved into chaos, but it was a chaos with purpose, guided by Sarah's unseen hand. In the midst of this turmoil, Sarah interfaced with the station's main computer, broadcasting a message that would ripple across the galaxy. "To all those who have suffered under the consortium's tyranny, your day of liberation is at hand. I am Sarah Mackenzie of Earth, and I bring a promise. No more will the innocent be traded as commodities. No more will entire species live in fear of abduction and enslavement. The consortium's days are numbered." As her words echoed through countless worlds and space stations, Sarah felt a surge of both triumph and trepidation. She had just painted a massive target on her back, but she had also lit a spark of hope in countless hearts. The emissary, its cybernetic systems overridden by Sarah's power, began to divulge the consortium's deepest secrets. With each revelation, Sarah's resolve hardened. The organization was vast, with tendrils reaching into governments and corporations across multiple galaxies. But it was not invincible. As the information poured in, Sarah sensed a subtle shift in the cosmic background. The progenitors were watching, that ancient consciousness focused on the unfolding events with keen interest. "You have set in motion forces beyond your comprehension, young one," their collective voice whispered in her mind. "The galaxy stands at a crossroads. Choose your path wisely." Sarah's response was filled with unwavering determination. "I choose freedom. For Earth, for every sentient being suffering under oppression, whatever it takes." As the Night Shard disengaged from Nexus 9, now accompanied by a small fleet of liberated ships, Sarah stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the star-studded void. The first battle had been won, but the war was just beginning. The consortium would retaliate with all its might. Entire star systems might be caught in the crossfire, and somewhere out there, Earth remained blissfully unaware of both the threat and its unlikely protector. Sarah Mackenzie, once a simple girl from Montana, now stood as a fulcrum upon which the fate of galaxies would turn. With each passing moment, her powers grew, evolving in ways that blurred the line between science and magic. But would it be enough to face the storms that were gathering? As the Night Shard jumped to hyperspace, Sarah allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. She thought of her parents, of the life she had left behind. A single tear traced down her cheek, glowing with latent energy. "I'll come home," she whispered to the uncaring void. "I promise. But first, I have a galaxy to save." The Night Shard vanished in a burst of impossible light, leaving behind a changed Nexus 9 and a message of rebellion that was already spreading like wildfire across the stars. The cosmic chess game had begun, and Sarah Mackenzie had just made her opening move. Little did she know, forces both ancient and new were taking notice. The fate of not just humanity, but of all sentient life, now hung in the balance. And at the center of it all was a child becoming a legend that would shake the very foundations of the universe. Quantum insurgency. The vastness of space shimmered and warped as the Night Shard and its newfound fleet of liberated ships dropped out of hyperspace. Sarah stood at the helm, her eyes glowing with ethereal energy as she processed streams of data faster than any computer. "Welcome to the Edge," she announced of a diverse crew of former slaves and unlikely allies. "The last free zone before we hit consortium-controlled space." The Edge was a lawless region of space, a cosmic Wild West where outlaws, refugees, and freethinkers gathered. Its centerpiece was the Neon Nexus, a massive space station that looked like a psychedelic spiderweb spun by a god on a technicolor bender. As the fleet approached, Sarah felt a familiar presence brush against her mind. The progenitor's collective consciousness whispered, "Caution, young one. The path you walk is fraught with peril. The consortium is not your only concern." Before Sarah could probe deeper, a transmission crackled through the ship's comms. A gruff voice barked, "Unidentified fleet, state your business or be atomized." Sarah stepped forward, her voice resonating with otherworldly harmonics. "I am Sarah Mackenzie of Earth, liberator of Nexus 9. We seek sanctuary and allies in our fight against the consortium." There was a long pause before the voice responded, this time with a hint of awe. "By the cosmic call, it's true. The quantum child lives. Proceed to docking bay Omega 3. The council awaits." As the ship docked, Sarah and her core team, including the reluctant but useful Captain Vexler, made their way through the chaotic, neon-drenched corridors of the station. Aliens of every conceivable shape and size bustled about, many stopping to stare at the strange group led by a glowing human child. They were led to a vast chamber where 5 figures sat in a semicircle. The Council of the Edge, Sarah realized, each member representing a different faction of this interstellar frontier. The central figure, a being of pure energy contained within a humanoid exosuit, spoke first. "Sarah Mackenzie, your actions have sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The consortium has placed a bounty on your head that could buy a small planet." Sarah stood tall, unflinching. Then they fear what I represent. Freedom. Hope. The end of their tyranny. A serpentine alien with feathers instead of scales hissed. Pretty words, child. But the consortium has ruled for millennia. What makes you think you can topple them? In response, Sarah closed her eyes and reached out with her mind. The entire station shuddered as she briefly interfaced with its systems. Lights flickered, gravity wavered, and for a moment, every being on the neon nexus felt a fraction of Sarah's vast consciousness touch their minds. When she opened her eyes, the council members were visibly shaken. "I am more than I appear," Sarah said simply. "And I'm not alone. Every being you've enslaved, every world you've oppressed, they're all potential allies. We just need to light the spark." The energy being leaned forward, its voice humming with curiosity. "And what exactly do you propose, Quantum Child?" Sarah's plan was audacious. Using the Edge as a base of operations, she would launch a multi-pronged assault on the consortium's power structure. Cyber attacks to cripple their communications, precision strikes to free key slave worlds, and a massive propaganda campaign to turn the oppressed populations against their overlords. But most importantly, Sarah concluded, we need to find and destroy the Nexus Core, the quantum supercomputer at the heart of the consortium's power. The council chambers erupted in heated debate. It was Vexlor who finally spoke up, his mandibles clicking nervously. The Nexus Core is a myth, a ghost story told to scare young larvae. Sarah turned to him, her eyes flashing. "It's real, and you're going to help us find it." As the council deliberated, Sarah felt a sudden sharp pain in her head. She stumbled, and for a moment, her human form flickered, revealing a being of pure energy beneath. The progenitor's voice rang in her mind, urgent and worried. "Your evolution accelerates, child of Earth. But beware, there are forces at work beyond even our comprehension. The consortium is merely a symptom of a deeper cosmic sickness." Before Sarah could question further, alarms blared throughout the station. A panicked voice came over the comms. "Consortium warfleet incoming. They found us." The council chamber descended into chaos, but Sarah remained calm. She closed her eyes, reaching out with her expanded senses. She could feel the approaching ships, the fear of the station's inhabitants, the ebb and flow of cosmic energies. When she opened her eyes, they blazed with determination. "This is it," she declared. "Our first real battle. Time to show the consortium that the age of tyranny is over." As the defenders of the Edge scrambled to their ships, Sarah strode purposefully back to the Nightshard. With a thought, she interfaced with the vessel, pushing its hybrid systems to new limits. The ship's hull rippled and reformed, weapons of impossible design emerging from its surface. Sarah's consciousness expanded, linking with every friendly ship in the vicinity, coordinating their efforts with inhuman precision. As the first consortium dreadnoughts dropped out of hyperspace, Sarah allowed herself a fierce smile. This was not just a battle for the Edge, it was a fight for the future of the galaxy. The Nightshard surged forward, Sarah's voice resonating through every allied ship. For freedom, for justice, for a future without chains. The sky erupted in a dazzling display of energy weapons and impossible maneuvers as the outnumbered defenders engaged the consortium fleet. At the heart of it all, the Nightshard danced through space, its movements guided by Sarah's enhanced intellect and evolving powers. But even as she coordinated the battle, Sarah felt something stirring deep within her. The powers gifted by the progenitors were changing her, pushing her beyond the limits of humanity. With each passing moment, she teetered on the edge of transcendence. As energy beams lanced through space and ships exploded in silent bursts of light, Sarah Mackenzie faced not just the external threat of the consortium, but an internal struggle that would determine the fate of galaxies. The battle for the Edge had begun, but the war, a war for the very nature of existence, was just beginning to unfold. Cosmic ascension. The battle for the Edge raged across the star-studded void, a symphony of destruction and defiance. At its epicenter, The night shard moved with impossible grace, Sarah Mackenzie's consciousness guiding its every action. But as the conflict intensified, something unprecedented began to unfold. Sarah's form flickered and pulsed, her human shell struggling to contain the vast energies building within. The progenitor's voice echoed in her mind, urgent and filled with both wonder and concern. The nexus approaches, child of Earth. Your metamorphosis accelerates. You stand at the threshold of something beyond even our understanding. Amidst the chaos of battle, Sarah felt a sudden, overwhelming pull. Her consciousness expanded exponentially, stretching across light years in an instant. She saw the intricate web of quantum entanglement that connected all things, from the smallest subatomic particles to the grandest cosmic structures. And there, at the heart of it all, she sensed it, the Nexus core. "It's not a computer," Sarah gasped, her voice resonating with newfound knowledge. It's a focal point of reality itself. As this realization struck, Sarah's physical form began to dissolve. Energy cascaded from her being in waves of impossible color, engulfing the night shard and spreading outward. The battle around them froze, every ship and energy blast suspended in a moment of cosmic pause. Captain Vexilor, watching in awe from the bridge, shittered in a mixture of fear and reverence. "By the first egg, what is happening?" Sarah turned to him, her eyes now swirling galaxies. When she spoke, her voice echoed with the harmonics of creation itself. "I understand now. The consortium, the progenitors, the conflicts that have shaped our galaxy, they're all part of a greater pattern, and I am becoming the key." With a thought, Sarah reached out across the vast distances of space. She touched the minds of every being in the battle, consortium and rebel alike. In that moment, she shared with them a fraction of her cosmic awareness, the interconnectedness of all things, the beauty and fragility of existence. The effect was immediate and profound. Weapons powered down. Hostilities ceased. Across the battlefield, beings of all species were overcome with a sense of universal kinship. But the transformation was far from over. Sarah felt herself stretching across dimensions, her consciousness expanding to encompass entire galaxies. She saw the flow of time itself, witnessing the birth and death of universes in the span of a thought. "I see it all," she whispered, her voice carrying across the cosmos. "The Nexus core, the consortium, even the progenitors, they're all parts of a cosmic algorithm, a grand design set in motion at the dawn of time." As Sarah's ascension continued, strange phenomena began to manifest throughout the galaxy. On countless worlds, long-dormant artifacts of impossible technology awakened. Beings of pure energy emerged from subspace rifts, their forms incomprehensible to mortal eyes. The progenitor's voice rang out one last time, filled with a mixture of pride and trepidation. "You have surpassed us, child of Earth. The mantle of cosmic shepherd passes to you. Guard it well." In the space around the edge, reality itself seemed to warp and bend. The night shard and the surrounding ships were enveloped in a cocoon of swirling energy, shimmering with the potential of infinite possibilities. When the light faded, the battlefield had been transformed. Where once there were warring fleets, now there floated a newborn celestial body, a miniature galaxy swirling with stars and newborn worlds. At its heart hovered Sarah Mackenzie, or rather, the being she had become. Her human form was gone, replaced by an entity of pure cosmic energy. Threads of luminous power extended from her in all directions, connecting her to every part of the newborn galaxy. "I am the Nexus now." Her voice resonated across space and time. The bridge between what is and what could be. The surviving ships, both consortium and rebel, found themselves drifting in this new cosmic nursery. Beings of all species emerged, forever changed by what they had witnessed. Vexilor, his exoskeleton still shimmering with residual energy, approached the luminous being that had once been Sarah. What happens now?" he asked, his usual bravado replaced by childlike wonder. Sarah's cosmic form pulsed with warmth. "Now we rebuild. Not just our galaxy, but the very foundations of reality. The age of conflict and division is over. We will forge a new cosmic order based on unity, understanding, and the infinite potential within every sentient being. As news of the miraculous events spread across the galaxy, the old power structures crumbled. The consortium, faced with the awakening of countless beings to their true cosmic potential, found its controls slipping away. On Earth, a planet that had been blissfully unaware of the cosmic drama unfolding around it, strange lights appeared in the sky. In a small town in Montana, John and Maria Mackenzie looked up in wonder, somehow knowing that their long-lost daughter was returning, changed, but still the Sarah they had always loved. Across the universe, a new era dawned. The barriers between species, between dimensions, between what was possible and impossible, began to blur. And at the heart of it all was Sarah Mackenzie, once a simple human child, now the guardian and catalyst of cosmic evolution. As the newborn galaxy cradled in the remnants of the edge began to pulse with life and possibility, Sarah's consciousness stretched out across the cosmos. She felt the stirring of new potentials, the awakening of dormant abilities in beings across countless worlds. The game had changed. The board had expanded beyond imagination. And Sarah Mackenzie, the cosmic nexus, stood ready to guide the universe into an age of wonders beyond comprehension. In the vast tapestry of space and time, a new thread had been woven, bright, radiant, and pulsing with the promise of a future limited only by the bounds of imagination itself.